And we're back with another Shack News Game of the Year 2022 awards ceremony. You know, they say that art is subjective, and boy, oh boy, does this stacked category ever prove that. Because we have a lot of nominations for Best Art Style. Yes, sir, Bob. You know, it doesn't matter if it's pixels or like the fanciest looking highfalutin 4K resolutions, 120 hertz AAA title. If you thought it was pretty, now's your chance to vote for it. So yes, while art is subjective, we will have a clear winner here today, which might be confusing to some, but it's perfectly clear to us. Man, we got a lot of nominations here, so I think we should just get going with it. Who would like to throw their nomination out first?
I'll start.
There's
My thing came off. Yeah, I'd like to nominate Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed in a world where, like, I think that they could have gone really heavily into the realistic or even like the movie inspired design, but then with a really unique kind of art style that people have described as like Fortnite-y, right? I like describe it as Warcrafty, but yeah, it's that really unique art style that caters itself well. Borderlands does this too. Like it'll still look good 10 years from now, when we're on PlayStation 8. Just it gives it more life in the legs. And I really feel that there's so much inspiration like from the cartoon show in that game as well, like inspired by the art design. And I, as a fan of a huge fan of that damn show, it's been like 30 years and like it came and went, no one talked about it, and they went the extra mile and they were like, hey, we're going to watch these shows, I'm going to implement art designs and inspirations into the game based off the cartoon show, which they didn't have to do. They could have gone full on, we're just going to copy the movie designs, we're just going to do a movie universe. And everything from that game, from the props to the character models, so the ghost, to the equipment, looks absolutely spot on Ghostbusters-y, and it can fit in so many different worlds. You can pull from the cartoon show, the movies, the comics, the spin-offs, the Extreme Ghostbusters cartoon. Everything would just fit flawlessly in this world, regardless of where you pulled it from. The ghost designs alone, I think, are so incredible that it deserves the award. They just look so unique and fun. They look like they're pulled right out of the toy shelf at Toys R Us. Like they would exist in that market, and I think it deserves a nomination for that reason. It's such a great art style that caters itself to the Ghostbusters universe in general, and not just the live action films.
all right. Good nomination, Greg. Anyone else chomping at the bit to get their nomination in next?
Yeah,
Got a lot of them. All right, David.
one game we haven't talked about this year, it was kind of a latecomer, is Pentiment. It was designed by a small team at Obsidian, headed by Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 creative director and Fallout New Vegas creative director Josh Sawyer, working with a small team to create a really cool narrative game predicated on a lot of choice. You start out investigating murder, but what I really like about this game is how the art style kind of extends to various facets of the game. If you look at the characters and environments, they have sort of a storybook meets painterly sort of look to them. But also you have different fonts for different classes of people. That's something I didn't even realize until Bill sent me an article about that during a break between some of our deliberations. And I just really think that they've applied the art style to everything, not just characters, not just environments, but even down to the text you're reading as characters are talking. And it just really captures the look and feel of a certain period really well. And that just kept me interested in the game as I was going through it.
What I think is really cool is we've talked about this in other categories about how like you can take something, and Blake alluded to, like, if you found it pretty, it's valid. And I think that that's true, but it kind of takes the art style beyond pretty, where the different fonts that are used actually inform you about perhaps the person that you're speaking with and their status in society. So if you're speaking to like a monk, for example, they will have a certain type of uh, they'll use a different font because that would be somebody who is educated and very literate and able to, basically to in that time, they'd be able to write more, I guess, eloquently, if that makes sense. But if you were speaking with someone who maybe comes from a class of people who tend to be illiterate, then it would be a more simplistic and a more like raw and less refined font that they would use. So they created different fonts for different classes of people. But what I really think is cool is that when you're playing the game, it's not like you choose an option in your conversation and it just pops on the screen. It's actually written out in front of you as if someone is writing it on the page. And the ink will even bleed a little bit. And it's really woven in well that the mechanics of the game and the systems and what you're playing, and it all ties together because of this really almost like, and it literally is handcrafted fonts. Like they made these fonts for this game, but it's really well intertwined with everything that happens in the game. Like it almost like that's the backbone of like the story that's being told.
It's
Yeah,
like
and just
a
to piggyback on that, sorry, Blake, I just wanted to mention this. I'm really big on thematic elements. Like one of the most charming games ever for me was the original PVZ, and how everything fell under the umbrella of defending your yard with plants. You didn't play cards, you planted seeds. You had packets of seeds, and you're defending your yard and your roof. And this game kind of does that. Like even when you go to another screen, you're kind of like a scribe, and you're writing an account of this investigation and your story. And so when you go to a different screen, like it flips pages in the book that is being written. And I just thought that was a really cool transition element that again informs or is of the theme of the game, and also part and parcel of the art style as well.
yeah, it's got a cool like Renaissance sort of
Yep.
storybook art thing going on. And like Bill, as you guys were talking about the fonts, I went and looked it up, and like your characters fonts versus like farmers,
And
things like that, it's much different.
as a gamer, then that could instantly tell you like not exactly who you're talking to, but kind of like, oh, I'm talking to a peasant, or I'm talking to somebody who's middle class, because they would all have different like levels of education, and that would inform the penmanship that they had or their literacy level. But
and
I just think it's
and what they're telling you, right? Like their
yes.
class, their station is going to inform what they're telling you.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I love the fact that like first of all, I think the art style is quite unique, and I think it's very nice, and that's just on a surface level, but I appreciate that it wasn't just like we made pretty fonts and we made a pretty art style. It's like we actually used these things to enhance the actual gameplay, to enhance the storytelling. Like it wasn't just they don't operate separately. You can have a beautiful art style in a game and a story which has nothing to do with that, and that's not the case here. This is very tightly connected in terms of like the art style and the actual game that you're playing.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to go next. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Look, there is I'm just going to start with the enemies, because there's a ton of variety to all the creatures and things that you fight this time around. Like probably more so than any other like Borderlands franchise game I've played. You have like skeletons that you fight. You have, I think, lizard people at one point. You fight ghosts. You fight sharks with legs that will come and try and eat you. You fight dragons. You fight cyclopses. All sorts of things come at you, and in tons of different environments. There's also, we talked a little bit about the world map, but there's the last time how there's like an overworld map that's a little more like playing a tabletop game in this, and it looks fantastic, and it's designed to be, and like an actual board. So like bottle caps are used as bridges. At one point you come upon a giant cheese puff that's in your way, and you have to go on a quest to get rid of it. A lot of taking a lot of characters from the series, redesigning them for a D&D fantasy game, making a lot of fantasy style environments, like a giant beanstalk level For instance, that sticks out to me. You had like deserts, forests, graveyards, uh, just all over the place as far as the environments and the look of the environments, the variety of the creatures that you fight. And then you also have a little you have companions, and one of the companions is this little mushroom dude that just goes around farting out like poisonous gas to kill your enemies. And a giant crystal unicorn named Butt Stallion. If all of that wasn't enough, like just great character, creature design, environmental design, all around fantastic looking game.
The game also has an impressive amount of signage too. If you look at all the signs, like the logos, what they drew and they created is like super impressive. I spent like a few hours in that town just going through all the different locations, looking at the signs that they had out front. And I did a tweet about it. And I'm trying to find it, but it was just I was like, wow, that's a lot of detail. You know, like how they created that logo, created the font, and put it in, and and it's something you can walk right by and not even realize.
Yeah, no, the hub world is very detailed and kind of big, like the castle area. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the tweet and I'll link it in general in a minute.
Yeah. But while you find that, would anyone else like to throw out their nomination? Because yeah, this is basically everyone had a different nomination this year.
Yeah, I nominated Pokemon Legends Arceus. I love the retro, kind of old school look of that game. Very painterly. With it being set in the past, you've got a Pokédex made of paper and pencil. It's on a notepad, so you see like the scribbles where it's handwritten notes instead of the electronic programming we're used to. Like art renditions of Pokemon rather than polished looking models. Even the character and the way that the world looks, it's a very good kind of transformation of the Pokemon world into a very old ancient sort of a presentation, which I liked a lot.
The only issue I have with Pokemon is that like all the NPCs have remained like unchanged since they went 3D. Like they just have a very lifeless like stare to them, like they just kind of stare at you. I don't even think their lips move, right? They just kind of stare and they do this. And that just I don't know, it's part of the franchise. That bugs me about that franchise is all that everybody looks lifeless. All the humans in the world look lifeless. Pokemon look great, but the humans just look like they're just sitting there,
Floating.
I think they're a bit more emotive in Legends Arceus than in Sword and Shield era games before that, but I get your point.
I agree with Donovan. I think Arceus actually did give the characters a little bit more life, because in other games they didn't really show emotion at all. And in Arceus they kind of they actually smile, they actually frown, they actually make it look like, oh, you're talking to me, huh? Like stuff like that. So I think that they actually did show a little more in previous games.
All right. Well, how did the Psyducks look, Donovan?
Same as they've always looked, really. Very simple design.
It looked immaculate. Yeah,
Blake,
that's what
you can't improve upon perfection,
All right. Well, let's see who would like to go next with their nomination.
I can go next.
All right, Morgan.
So I nominated Cult of the Lamb. I was really impressed by the juxtaposition of what the game is and the content versus the art style. I think that it works really well. It's really clever. I remember when that game came out too, seeing all of like the fan art for it as well, and people inspired by it. I think is really cool. But yeah, you have like this cute little lamb design, very cartoony, in this very dark world. It gives kind of like a Don't Starve vibe a little bit, but like they really kind of made the character models even like cuter and like more unassuming, I guess. Like you wouldn't really associate, like when you look at the art for Cult of the Lamb, it doesn't tell you what the actual game is, and I kind of like that little twist to it. But yeah.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's very, very adorable dealing, and then it's so goddamn dark. Like the subject matter in that game, it adds to the creepy factor for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. We got some friends that have already gotten some solid Cult of the Lamb plushes at home. But yeah, it took me by surprise with kind of like the juxtaposition there in art styles. And it's got some smooth like transitions and animation too. I think that comes off in some of the gameplay side too, which is nice.
All right. Well, should we keep rolling down the line? Let's see. We have a few absentee nominations, but TJ, you have a nomination as well.
I do. Beacon Pines. This game is very story heavy, very dialogue driven, and I think that a strength of that is in just how gorgeous the art style looks. When characters are talking to each other, like when you're looking at the game, it's kind of like these sections are set in sort of like a space in the middle of nowhere because it's being read in a storybook. And there is kind of like a storybook vibe to every location that you're looking at. And even the characters that are just like, when you're looking at the overworld, the characters are well drawn. They emote well enough to convey what they feel, what they're thinking. And then when there's actual dialogue and character, and you get like full on character art, I really love the way that the characters are drawn in this game when they're up close and you get the detailed looks at them. Plus, they give them different drawings based on like their emotions, their like basically shocked face, sad face, all that stuff. And just seeing different versions of these characters and their different situations and styles, it's just always so wonderful. I remember seeing like there was something out of the art book. As I mentioned, well, in case you didn't know, Beacon Pines, all the characters are animal people, and the main one is Luca is a deer and or a reindeer. And there's something in the art book of him reading him reading a comic book with like while he's got a blanket over himself and he's like a built-in blanket for it because of his antlers holding up the top of the blanket like a tent, and it's adorable. I really love all of the art they did for this game. It's really pretty, like whether you're looking at the detailed character drawings or whether you're looking at the overworld. Just a really fun game to look at all times.
All right, Beacon Pines. Put it on the pizza. There we go. We have a couple more to go over. We have a few absentee nominations. TJ, while you're already talking, do you want to talk about Ozzy's nomination, Trek to Yomi?
Yeah, Trek to Yomi is so cool. Like, and especially like remembering that this came out this year, I'm surprised that this didn't catch your eye more, Blake, because this is a very samurai, like classic samurai cinema style game, in which like the sides, it's side scrolling, but it's done in like that letterbox black and white with the film grain on it.
Yeah, it's super Kurosawa style for sure. Yeah,
the shadows and the light refraction is done so well, and of course the blood spray from cutting people open with katanas. Like this game, Trek to Yomi was gorgeous. Like, and that was a huge part of the game. Was challenging, but like I don't think I really do think that striking art style made me want to see more of it at all times.
Yeah, it definitely yeah, it's almost like a cross between I want to say Limbo and Ghost of Tsushima.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like the aesthetic goes. Really, yeah, really super stylistic.
I'm glad you brought up Limbo because it kind of does that 2.5D thing that Limbo does as well, where like it is a side scroller, but the environment is 3D and you see like action happening in the background and the foreground before it kind of makes its way over to your plane, where like you'll see raiders and bandits cutting someone down in an area in the foreground, and then they'll run into the clearing to fight you. And like burning castles and villages in the background and forts and battles, and they really do a good job of using the 3D space for a 2D game.
Yeah, it definitely gives it a nice sharp look. I need to dig into that game more. I've only played like the first few minutes of it, but it's definitely up my alley. You are right, TJ. That is my kind of game. All right. And let's see. Roller Drome. Asif has nominated Roller Drome in this category. I love the art style of this game. I've talked about this before, how it kind of reminded me of 13, but in a very sort of like 70s dystopian sci-fi style. Cell shading, really cool design. The main character's design is very minimalist. It's basically like a white helmet, and I think it's an orange jumpsuit. I'm gonna look really, really quickly and cheat, but red jumpsuit. I'm sorry. Yeah, but it looks like a moving, living comic book. Like there's a lot of like thin line details to a lot of it. Who's I want to say it's like who's that French comic book? Morbius? No, not the vampire guy. It'll come to me. At any rate, yeah, it just like the thin line work and just little bits of gradients and details in like the outfits, the character designs, and the environments really, really give it an impressive animated quality, as well as like all the crazy ass tricks that you pull off, and they look cool. I guess that's not really art style though, but I guess that is kind of an artistic flair. Hard to put it all into words. Has anyone else like checked it out or at least looked at it? Because like it really is a very striking.
I've looked at it and
Unique
it's
design.
very it is very unique in the art style, and I appreciate that. Like I'm always a fan when a studio will. I think that for a long time we got caught up in this gameplay loop of like hyper realism in terms of like art and graphics is good, and I really love that over the last few years at least, and it may be longer, maybe it's just my own narrative in my head, but we're seeing games that just like intentionally take art styles in a more distinct and vibrant way, and they kind of like they just go against the grain and off the norm. And I think that Rollerdrome is gorgeous in its art style. I think it looks really clean and really fun. And like, as someone, I've said this before, as someone who's colorblind, I can oftentimes get into a game and not care about colors because I can't identify what they are. So I don't invest in that. But Rollerdrome has a color palette for me, which I guess you could almost say, and this is probably the wrong term, so don't blame the colorblind guy, but like I like high contrast things and things that pop, and it really pops to me. The art style is like something where I can kind of tell it apart. It doesn't really seem like all samey. Like it's really pronounced well. I like the art style of Rollerdrome quite a bit.
All right. Yeah, no, I found the guy that I was talking about. Jean Giraud, French artist, did a lot of like comic book stuff back in the day, and yeah, I see a lot of similarities in the style of Rollerdrome and his art style. So there you go. That's
It looks like a
Rollerdrome.
cartoon, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if here I can put a link to this guy. If people want to see what I'm talking about, or you know what, here I'll just give you the name. You can look it up yourself. So put it in general. There you go. Well, everybody looks up who that is if they feel like it. We have one. Oh, I should mention that Asif did leave a note here. He said, "Oh, wait, maybe okay. No, he didn't leave a note for Roller Drum. Never mind. That was for the category above it."
It's really like Roller Drum. Roll 7 is really, really good at cell shaded graphics. Like they are very good at like expressing everything they want to do, and Roller Drum feels like a good example of that. Like this game gives me 13 vibes, Killer 7 vibes, a little bit of and then of course like it's all stuffed into like these Tony Hawk levels with very distinct and unique enemies that you come across on your way through it. It's very cool looking.
It is very cool looking. I really like the art of that a lot. And Sam Chandler has a really good nomination as well. He nominated Scorn. Sam says that Scorn has one of the most unique art styles in the game. The H.R. Geiger inspired designs are unlike anything else. It's horrific, it's unsettling, and unnerving. Ask yourself this question when considering the other nominations. Have you seen that art style before? I mean, Alien games, but I think the environment. No, I think the way that they did the environments and the character designs and like all the bio or organic engineering sort of stuff that Geiger is known for. A lot of the body mutilation horror aspects of the game really make it creepy AF.
Yeah, I can elaborate on this a little bit more too, if you don't mind, Blake.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Like H.R. Geiger too, he has this really talent of like what it means for something to be alien. I mean, in films all the time, we always have to. You want the audience to relate to something, right? Whether that's a character or an environment, and like when you really want to make them feel uncomfortable, like you put something really out there that is literally alien in nature, something that you have no idea how that works. You don't know if you put your hand in there if it's a garbage disposal or a control panel. You know what I mean? Because like you really don't know how this technology works, and the Geiger's art design in Scorn does that, like in spades. Like you don't know what this stuff does. Like you're terrified to interact with it because you don't know what it does. It'd be like going into an airplane and trying to land it, like, and you know nothing about airplanes. Like what the hell would you know how to do that? And a lot of sci-fi jargon, they do that. Like, how the hell would two pilots Independence Day know how to fly an alien spaceship? It conveniently has joysticks. You know what I mean? Like Geiger's like, no. We're gonna put this stuff's gonna be so weird. You're not gonna know what is a control panel, what is a computer, what is a coffee maker. You're not gonna know what any of that stuff is. And Scorn does that in spades. It really does. It really does make you feel uncomfortable and alien, and you have no idea what anything does. Like even when you use it, you're like, oh, what does it do? I guess it does this. Like it's a very interesting take on art design and making you feel really out of place and not knowing what is what.
Yeah, I think though this is a time when the art style works for and against it, because people like you would get lost in that game. Right?
Yeah, it's the feeling of like nobody can relate to anything in the game because it's so out there. But that's the point.
Yeah,
right? That's what it's trying to do. Yeah.
Like just getting from point A to point B though could be frustrating, right? Because like you couldn't find your way around it. Like it didn't do enough to distinguish itself environmentally. You know what I mean, Greg?
Oh, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think honestly that takes away from the art style because you need landmarks. You need ways for people to identify that they're going in the right direction. And I think Scorn lacks that. And I think that ends up being a hit on its art style, honestly.
And not saying that it's a positive, but I think it's done that. It does that on purpose. Like it's supposed to make you feel lost and confused. Like that's part of its design. Not to say that's a plus for, but I think that's intentional.
It's a good counterpoint. I'll give you that. But will it be enough to sway my vote? Who knows? Probably not. But maybe. That's the drama of it all. But I think we are ready to vote unless anybody else has any objections. Oh, I guess Ozzy did put in an honorable mention here. I will mention this game for sure. Squad 51 versus the Flying Saucers. This is an impressive looking shmup. done in the style of like old black and white serial adventure movies with FMV cutscenes that are basically the same thing, like DIY. They all, low budget sort of stuff that harkens back to like an old timey film era. Greg, you interviewed them, right?
No, it got canceled.
Oh, never mind. That's
Yeah.
right. And Ozzy ended up doing it. That's why Ozzy knows about this game. But yes, this is
I've
a
saw it
cool
though,
looking
like it's a
shmup.
B movie, like a digital, like modern. The thing you can do with modern digital sprites is amazing. Like I just put it that way with this game. Like it's like if Mortal Kombat used the same technology today with digital sprites, it would be absolutely unique and hilarious. Like at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, very cool looking thing, and it looks like all the little like planes and stuff are on like strings, being held against like a paper like background that's like scrolling. Good, cool concept, cool idea. Definitely deserves a little bit of a shout out. But now it's time to vote, people. Are you ready to rock the vote?
Ready?
All right, Denny. Let's start with you, buddy.
Yeah, there's a lot of good choices. I'll stick with Call of the Lamb.
All right, Donovan.
I'm gonna stay with Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Put it down the very best. No one ever was. Greg, what's your vote?
David almost swung me on Pentiment because I completely forgot about that game, and I remember seeing him like, "Oh, that's super unique." But I think when you play a game like Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and I'm stopping to admire environments and not doing forward and looking for little things in the crevices to see, like that's a success unto itself. I'm gonna do Tiny Tina's.
All right, TJ.
Like I was so ready to do this for Beacon Pines, but Ozzy, like reminding me that Trekkiyomi came out this year. That game is poetry in motion when you're playing it well, and I love it. And they utilize that Kurosawa style so incredibly well throughout that game. I'm gonna go with Trekkiyomi.
All right, Bill Lavoy.
Pentiment in a landslide for me.
One person landslide vote.
Hey, I can have a landslide all myself. It's all good.
All right. When you see reflection in the snow-covered hills, I am voting for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Morgan had their vote down for Cult of the Lamb, and that was their nomination. Steve T.
I'm voting for Pokemon Legends.
Wow. Okay. David.
Yeah, so many great choices here, but the synthesis of art and storytelling and game systems in Pentiment just won me over big time for this category. I think it's functional and beautiful.
Okay. Cool. Well, let's count the absentee votes now. Asif voted for Rollerdrome. And Ozzy voted for Trek to Yomi. Okay. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Wait, did we get everybody? Is that everybody?
Sam voted for Scorn.
Sam voted for Scorn. Okay, that was it. I knew one was missing here. Well, holy crap. We have a 4-way tie, people. A 4-way tie between Pentiment, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, Cult of the Lamb, and Pokemon Legends Arceus. Oh, wait, no. And Trek to Yomi, a 5-way tie.
Oh my goodness.
Holy crap.
I'm gonna
Wow.
secure another
What do we
absentee
do?
vote here. If you give me that list again, I'll see if I can get someone.
Basically, Asif and Sam, like, if we can get at least one of them to revote. Whew, wow. This is insane. Never.
Wait, I
in
need
the
you to list
history.
off the games again
Oh.
before I can get you the vote.
Pentiment,
Yes.
Tiny Tina's Wonderlands,
Yes.
Cult of the Lamb,
That's the one I'm missing.
Pokemon Legends Arceus, and Trek to Yomi. Unless anybody wants to decide that Tiny Tina's Wonderlands deserves their vote, David.
I'm so surprised that after the Ghost of Tsushima incident of long past times,
Trek to Yomi.
I couldn't sway you over to Trek to Yomi. That is absolutely your style.
Yeah, you kind of hurt me with Beacon Pines.
Oh,
Already.
I'm surprised you didn't vote for what's that pixel art game that's really hard? The Incarnate.
Oh, that one? Oh,
Infernax? I love
Thank
Infernax.
you, Infernax. Yeah, I like the art style in that game. It's fun.
Man. Well, anyone is welcome to change their vote.
Find a lot of Cronenbergs.
Or
I'll recast for Pentiment.
Buying favors there, Donovan.
Sounds like a dope art style.
Sounds like we'll wait. We'll wait if we're waiting on an absentee vote. We'll see where the absentee vote swings because this thing still come down to like a 2.
Oh no, Blake, you
list.
must have zoned out. Bill said, "Never mind, they don't have a vote, and Pentiment wins." That's what he said.
Oh,
I'm not getting a reply, so I mean, we could be sitting here for 10 minutes. I have no idea.
overruled.
I was close to considering switching my vote to Pentiment too, so I think it would have happened at some point.
Denny, if you just do it, we can drive this home.
How about this point right now, Denny? Just kidding.
I mean, the more gameplay I see from it, you know, I do like the amount of detail going into the different types. I feel like.
Have you looked at Tiny Tina's Wonderlands though? Have you really looked at it?
I mean, I've played it, yeah.
Like it.
I mean,
it
it's
sounds
all
to
that
me-
I think I would have gotten
that
into
fantasy
this had it
art
not dropped like last month. I feel like I would have gotten
That's
more
right.
opportunity to
Blake, I would like to go ahead and point out that Trek to Yomi wasn't even my nomination. It was Ozzy's.
I know. All right, well then, why don't you vote for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands then?
We can
Because
I can cut this and then just put the winner at the end. Like I could be like, put
Okay.
it back and then be like, here's the winner.
No.
of the
We're gonna
absentee
find it.
ballot.
We're gonna figure this out. We're doing this now.
This is the
Denny, are
Joker.
you switching your vote?
I will go with Pentiment in this.
Oh
regard.
man. All right. Well.
And I would like our absentee vote is in.
Oh
okay.
snap!
It's in. And it refuses to change its vote.
Well done.
Now, in fairness, this was a constantly evolving situation, and I did mention that Donovan had flipped. So I don't think this person felt the need to recast either. So, but even so, this vote really did believe heavily in Rollerdrome, and I respect that.
I respect that too. You know what? I'll swap my vote to Rollerdrome.
What are you trying to do?
Act of solidarity. I don't know. It's just
We're
drama.
Well, for swapping votes, I'll do Volodrome too. That's all
All
swap
right.
votes.
Oh my gosh! What?
Everybody, vote swaps.
The last 25 minutes has been pointless.
I don't think
All
We're
right.
trying to turn the page, much like
It's all
Pentiment.
subjective.
Pages. Yeah.
It's all subjective, and that's what we've kind of proven here today. But man, what an impressive cast of games this was, let me say. And what a heated debate. There's a 5-way tie. Never in the history of the Shacknews Game of the Year debates has a 5-way tie occurred and had to be re-voted. But here we are. Pentiment putting up a fight to become best art style of 2022.